Thanks for joining us for CBN News Today. I'm Ephraim Graham.
And I'm Charlene Aaron. Syrian Kurds are making an urgent appeal for help to save their border city from the Islamic State. ISIS fighters are closing in and are poised to capture the city of Kobani. And some are warning a massacre could be on the way. Gary Lane has more.
Turkey increased its military presence along the border as Islamic militants raised Black Islamic State flags over parts of the city of Kobani. Heavy street battles raged in the strategic Syrian town as Kurdish fighters battled Islamic State jihadists for control. As U.S. warplanes reportedly bombed ISIS positions in hopes of pushing them away from the area, a growing number of U.S. military and defense analysts say military airstrikes are not enough to stop the ISIS advance. And the U.S. chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Martin Dempsey, told ABC News he's pessimistic about Kobani's future.
Yeah, I am fearful that Kobani will fall.
Fearing another massacre and human rights tragedy, the UN Special Envoy for Syria appealed for help for Kobani. He says the international community must act now. But at this point, Turkey's President Erdogan only appears willing to fight to protect Turkish soil. No boots on the ground inside Syria and the city of Kobani. Meanwhile, Turkish police used water cannons and tear gas to push Kurdish protesters back from the border. The demonstrators are demanding help for Kobani. Kurds also clashed with police in Istanbul and 6 other Turkish cities. And the Kurds and the UN aren't the only ones making impassioned pleas for help. The parents of Peter Kasig, the next American set to be beheaded, appealed to ISIS to release their son.
We implore his captors to show mercy and use their power to let our son go.
And our hearts ache for you to be granted your freedom so we can hug you again.
And the FBI says it wants the American public's help in identifying the ISIS terrorist appearing in this latest propaganda video.
You can see them now digging their own graves in the very place where they were stationed.
FBI Director James Comey says the man is speaking perfect English with a North American accent. He could be from the United States, a homegrown terrorist. Informants around the world are being asked if they know his voice. The FBI is concerned the terrorist could return to the U.S. and cause havoc here. Comey says thousands of foreign jihadists, including Americans, are joining the Syrian civil war.
And then they're coming back. They're coming back to Europe, they're coming back to North America, and it's something that all of us in the counterterrorism business are worried about every day.
As the fall election approaches, some congressional candidates are now asking, is the Obama administration really doing enough to stop these and other terrorists from entering the United States? And is the U.S. doing enough to help our allies and defeat ISIS once and for all? Gary Lane, CBN News.
Burial workers in Sierra Leone walked off the job, leaving dead bodies of Ebola victims in the streets. The workers went on strike because they have not been paid. In Liberia, U.S. troops continue to set up emergency clinics, and CBN's Operation Blessing is there too, providing some much-needed sanitation equipment. George Thomas reports now from Monrovia.
In a corner of Liberia's capital city, the frantic pace to get ahead of this deadly Ebola virus.
Let's start adding some of these. 7 bags of salt.
Keeps David Darg
Okay, let's go inside.
and his Operation Blessing team on their toes.
So we're gonna start on this machine. All right.
On Monday afternoon,
All we're gonna do is just turn it on.
Darg helped set up 6 desperately needed chlorine generators
So we have to put the electrode inside the barrel.
capable of helping tens of thousands of Liberians stay alive in the hot zone.
Just a small amount mixed with water can disinfect hands, can be used for surface disinfection in Ebola treatment centers.
Darg is prepping the Operation Blessing Liberian team
So it's very simple, but it's very effective.
to travel to Ebola-hit villages with this technology.
We're just taking salt and water, and through a process of electrolysis, we're making liquid chlorine. So it's a lot of life-saving disinfectant solution. So you have a lot of responsibility now, guys.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing.
Down the street from Darg's operation, Alexander and his colleagues are also working feverishly to erect the newest Ebola treatment center, thanks to funding from the United States.
I'm feeling very happy that the American government has come to help our people because many of our people are dying.
And the construction never stops because folks here know lives are on the line. It's a few minutes before 7 p.m. and you sense the urgency because folks are working late into the night to try and get this Ebola treatment center finished as quickly as possible. By the way, the largest Ebola treatment center to date here in the capital city, Monrovia, can house about 150 patients. This new facility, courtesy of the U.S. government, will double that number. So whether it's Operation Blessing or other international aid agencies, the race is on to get critical supplies and infrastructure to those living in the affected regions. George Thomas, CBN News, Monrovia, Liberia.
Those rising early today could catch a total lunar eclipse, which is also known as a blood moon because of its reddish color as it passes into the Earth's shadow. This is the second total lunar eclipse of this year, and there will be 2 full lunar eclipses again next year. Single blood moons happen fairly regularly, but as CBN's Eric Stakelbeck first reported months ago, it's extremely rare for 4 of them to appear so closely together. Such blood moons appear several times in Scripture, and some Christians say there's a tie between these moons and current events in Israel. You can see Eric's full report on that at cbnnews.com.
Palestinian protesters clashed with Israeli police on Jerusalem's Temple Mount today, leaving 3 police officers lightly injured. Police say several dozen masked Palestinians began throwing rocks and firecrackers at police when the site opened for prayers. The location is the holiest site in Judaism and the 3rd holiest in Islam, and is a frequent flashpoint for demonstrators.
More than half of Americans label President Obama's presidency a failure. A new poll by Investors Business Daily and TIP found that 53% of adults see the Obama administration as a flop. 41% say it is a success, and 6% said they weren't sure. The president's standing among independents is even worse, with 58% giving his presidency a failing grade. And if the 2012 election were held today, 43% said they would vote for President Obama, while 49% said they would now vote for Mitt Romney. As the midterm elections looms, 34% of those polled say they are less likely to vote for a candidate who supports President Obama compared to 16% who would.
The first religious liberty case of this Supreme Court term came before justices Tuesday. It involves a convicted killer who complains the Arkansas prison where he's doing time is interfering with his freedom of religion. Paul Strand shows us why those arguing his case say it is important for people of all faiths.
Muslim convert Gregory Holt's case is that rare one where he handwrote his appeal to the Supreme Court justices and they decided to take up his case. He was writing from an Arkansas prison that refused to let him grow a half-inch beard, something he insists is important to his faith. Some Christians hearing about this case of a Muslim wanting to grow a beard in prison may wonder what it has to do with their religious liberty.
Religious freedom is for everyone, and if we don't protect it for everyone, then no one will be protected.
There are vastly more Christians in American prisons than there are Muslims.
Professor Doug Laycock argued Holt's case before the justices and says incarcerated Christians suffer from religious restrictions too.
They have trouble getting religious literature, they have trouble getting their volunteers into the prison, they have trouble meeting for group worship. So Christian religious liberty is very much at stake in this case.
Former inmate, now lawyer Jesse Weiss, says without the God he met in prison and the religion he was allowed to practice there, he would not have been able to turn his life around.
I became a Christian when I was incarcerated, and the ability for me to actually practice that Christianity instead of leaving it within the front and the back cover of the Bible, so to speak, it was actually what built within me, I think, the ability for me to become a good citizen on the back end of that.
Arkansas has argued they can't allow the beards because of safety and security concerns.
They have no examples of any case where a half-inch beard has successfully concealed anything. And so to the extent they're arguing that this is a grave security concern, they simply don't have any evidence to back that up.
Weiss argues prisons shouldn't fight against religion because it's such a positive force.
It's been proven time and time again that faith-based programming reduces recidivism or the likelihood that an individual is going to actually come back into prison.
Paul Strand, CBN News, the Supreme Court.
Coming up, why do liberals give Islam a pass? Ben Affleck and Bill Maher go head-to-head.
A heated debate over Islamic teaching and so-called Islamophobia on Bill Maher's real-time TV program has gone way past viral on the internet.
That's right. Maher began by saying liberals are too soft when it comes to Islamic teaching.
All I'm saying is that liberal principles like freedom of speech, freedom to practice any religion you want without fear of violence, freedom to leave a religion, equality for women, equality for minorities, including homosexuals. These are liberal principles that liberals applaud for. But then when you say in the Muslim world this is what's lacking, then they get upset.
And when guest Sam Harris tried to explain why liberals won't criticize Islam, actor Ben Affleck jumped in and the fireworks began.
We have been sold this meme of Islamophobia where every criticism of the doctrine of Islam gets conflated with bigotry toward Muslims as people.
Right.
And that is it's intellectually ridiculous. Even it gets
So hold on,
conflated
are
with
you
racism.
the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is...
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But
why are you so hostile about this
Because it's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying those stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
of course we do. No liberal doesn't want you to criticize bad ideas.
But Islam at this moment is the motherlode of bad ideas.
That's just a fact.
Like blasphemy.
It's
an ugly thing.
Apostasy.
Cliff May is president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And earlier, CBN's Mark Martin asked Cliff why liberals give Islam a free pass.
I think there is a fear that they'll be called Islamophobic if they're critical at all of Muslim societies, of Quranic doctrine, or even of Muslims. And I think there's I think there's a lot that Ben Affleck not only doesn't understand, but doesn't want to understand. And it is complicated. Take to start the fact that there are more than 50 Muslim majority countries in the world. In how many of those countries do religious and ethnic minorities have full and equal rights? Well, the answer is 0. Now, that's problematic. Now, does that suggest that Muslims cannot be supporters of human rights the way we are? Absolutely not. Does it suggest that most Muslims are terrorists? Absolutely not. But there are readings of Islamic scripture that have given rise to very hateful, very bellicose ideologies, the most threatening in the world today, the ones that underpin Al-Qaeda, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Taliban, the Islamic State, all of the above. And I think this is an important subject to debate, but it's difficult because it gets into the kind of fireworks you saw where Ben Affleck was, you could see in his body language, he was offended by the kind of conversation that was taking place at that table.
Now, he suggested criticizing Islam as racist and bigoted. Ben Affleck did. Why such a personal attack, do you think?
Well, again, because I think he sort of screens up a sort of template that he puts on all this, which is that any criticism of Islam must be bigoted, must be somehow racist. It has nothing to do with race. This is about religion. Look, here's the part of what's difficult to understand. Not all readings of Islam are bellicose. The Ismailis are not bellicose, if you know who they are. They are a Shia sect, one could say, about 12 million in the world. The Aga Khan, who's the head of it, just built a beautiful art museum in Toronto. Sufi Muslims tend not to be bellicose at all. The Kurds are our best friends in the Islamic world. Very few of them, I can't say none, but very few of them are what I would call Islamist or jihadist. But those who do have a bellicose and anti-Western, anti-American, anti-Jewish, anti-Christian reading, those who want to destroy what they call infidel and apostate communities, are they heretics? No, they're not heretics. They have a fundamentalist reading of Islam, and that reading leads them to believe that it is their duty, most of all, to wage a war, what they call a jihad, against the infidels, against the kafirs, against America, Israel, Christians, Yazidis, all of the above, until they get what they want. And what they want is submission or death of those who they see as disobedient, those as they see as, in their words, the enemies of Allah.
And you can see the full interview with Cliff May at our website, cbnnews.com.
Up next, you exercise, you eat right, and you still may be leaving your body vulnerable to sickness. Hear how to protect your health next. Well, stop by a drugstore and you'll see a whole alphabet of pills and supplements from A to Zinc. The vitamin industry is one of the fastest growing in the world.
And it's easy to see why. We simply aren't getting enough of the nutrients we need. Gordon Robinson has more now in this next installment of our series, Protect Your Health.
Out of every 10 people you see walking down the street, 9 of them lack at least one critical vitamin or mineral necessary for good health.
You may think you have a healthy lifestyle, but even with the best diet, you still may not be giving your body everything it needs. That's where supplements come in.
It's important to choose supplements that absorb rapidly, such as liquids or powders. Too often, tablets don't break down fast enough and end up going down the drain. When it comes to choosing supplements, vitamin D is a good place to start. It's vital to a healthy immune system, and a staggering 3/4 of Americans aren't getting enough of it.
Vitamin D is really important for a lot of medical conditions. We see it associated with cancers. We see it associated with falls in the elderly. We see it associated with many symptoms, achiness, some mood issues, but also we can see it associated with some infections and some issues with the immune system.
Your body creates vitamin D naturally when you're exposed to sunlight. Most of us, however, need a vitamin D supplement because we don't spend a lot of time in the sun. And when we do go out, we wear sunscreen, which blocks the absorption of vitamin D. Next, consider a multivitamin supplement.
It is kind of that safety mechanism that could be added on board to support your immune system and overall health in general.
Fresh fruits and vegetables aren't as healthy as they used to be. For instance, apples contain 77% fewer minerals than they did 80 years ago. Over-farming has robbed the soil of the micronutrients necessary to grow vitamin and mineral-rich produce.
We worry that when fruits and vegetables travel long distances or exposed to a lot of different chemicals, that their health benefits are really compromised.
Choose a multivitamin that contains 100% of the recommended daily allowance of a wide variety of vitamins and minerals. Also, pay attention to what's not in your multivitamin.
So no added colors, no added chemicals, and ideally no added sugars, which you're going to find in many of the gummy formulations that a lot of people like.
Some herbal supplements can also help you fight off illness.
So there is some scientific evidence for ginseng, particularly in preventing colds. So a lot of people will opt to take that in cold and flu season regularly as a preventative agent.
Echinacea can strengthen your immunity by increasing the number of white blood cells which kill cold and flu bugs.
This is very popular. People who are interested in taking echinacea should take 100 milligrams 3 times a day, and they need to start it early if they want it to be effective.
A fish oil supplement in liquid or capsule form is also a good idea because fish oil contains omega-3 fatty acids, which boost your immune system.
Omega-3 fatty acids are something that we have also depleted in our diet. We used to get them when we would eat a lot of fish or a lot of pasture-raised cattle, for example. We no longer really do.
Fish oil is made up of 2 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. Check the label and try to take about 1 gram of DHA daily to improve brain function and help fight depression.
Another powerful immune system booster is coconut oil. Take a tablespoon or 2 a day and cook with it. Lab tests reveal it destroys flu viruses, as well as bacteria that cause infections, and even parasites that lead to stomach problems.
Speaking of the gut, did you know that 70% of your immune system is in your intestines? That's home to most of the good bacteria that destroys outside invaders intent on making you sick.
So the issue with bacteria in our body is very complicated, and we're just coming to learn how important it is that we have these healthy bacteria and that we set up the environment in our body to allow those healthy bacteria to grow and to flourish.
The problem is that good bacteria can be killed by antibiotics, antibacterial soaps, and processed foods. You can fix that by eating fermented foods that are naturally rich in probiotics like kimchi and plain yogurt. But many of us don't get enough probiotics in our diets. So taking a probiotic supplement is the next best thing to restore good bacteria to our intestines. Another great way to ward off illness is vitamin C.
I think 1,000 milligrams is a safe dose that's not too high, and I don't think there's any reason to take vitamin C daily over 2,000 milligrams.
So consider supplements to strengthen your immune system. Vitamin D, vitamin C, a strong multivitamin, herbs, fish oil, coconut oil, and probiotics. In a perfect world, we'd get them naturally. For our less than perfect lifestyles, they're a good safety net.
And all this week, we are showing you more ways that you can protect your health and build a strong immune system. You can watch the Protect Your Health series by going to cbn.com on our website. While you're there, you can also order a free DVD of the series. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Finally today, a California evangelist recently told a Dallas crowd, all roads lead to God.
That is the message Greg Laurie of Harvest Evangelism preached to a capacity crowd at the American Airlines Center this past weekend. He said whether a person is a believer, an agnostic, or an atheist, all will personally face God one day for judgment. But he also told the audience only one road leads to heaven, and that's the road through Jesus Christ. At the close of the message, more than 1,100 individuals committed to follow Christ. Laurie pastors a church in Riverside, California, and has spoken to more than 5 million people through his Harvest Crusades. And I've actually caught a couple of them online. Amazing.
Yeah, powerful ministry.
Powerful ministry.
Powerful indeed.
Definitely.
Well, that is going to do it now for us here at CBN News Today. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you join us next time. Have a great day, and God bless.